This is Style Shifter, the podcast where we explore the past, present, and future of the choices we make about what we wear. I'm Daria, and every week we dive into personal style, shopping habits, and the way fashion shapes our lives. Today's episode is about something we've all dealt with: negativity around our looks, our style, and the way we express ourselves. Whether it's an offhand comment from a relative, a coworker's unsolicited advice, or that voice in your head repeating something someone said years ago, these moments can stay with us. They make us question our choices, shrink our confidence, and sometimes even change the way we dress without us realizing it. And that's why I want to start today's episode with a listener question from Callie, who sent in this voice message.
I would like to know how to deal with compliments or criticism. When I get criticism, obviously I don't like it, but it doesn't happen too often either. But also with compliments, I feel really uncomfortable. I never know how to react, and I would like to have some ideas for that.
I love this question because criticism isn't the only thing that can make us uncomfortable. Compliments can too. Many of us struggle with knowing how to respond when someone praises our style, either brushing it off or feeling like we need to justify our choices. And the way we react to both criticism and compliments says a lot about how we've been conditioned to think about style, validation, and self expression. So, today we are going to talk about why people feel the need to comment on others' style and looks, how negativity, both external and internal, affects our confidence, how to respond to unsolicited criticism, and how to accept compliments without feeling awkward, and how to stay secure in your style no matter what others say. If you've ever felt unsure about how to handle comments on your style, whether negative or positive, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. A while ago, I sent out a newsletter that I thought was just an interesting reflection, but it ended up being the most controversial thing I had ever written. I wrote about a simple question: where is your dress from? To me, this wasn't just a casual fashion inquiry. I saw it as a subtle but real boundary violation, something that happens often online where people feel entitled to information about what you are wearing without actually seeing you as a person. In the email I wrote, when you ask someone online where that dress is from, two things happen. First, you give a compliment to the brand. Second, you make the wearer feel worthless. I got so many replies pushing back against this idea. People told me, but that's a compliment. It means they really like what you're wearing. And others said, I would ask that in real life too. But would you? If you saw someone at a restaurant wearing a beautiful dress, would you walk up to them and say, where did you buy that? Most of the time you wouldn't. You would probably just say you look great and leave it at that, even though this is also quite weird. Because in real life, we understand that some things are private, that fashion is personal, that what we choose to wear isn't just a transaction or a shopping link. This whole debate got me thinking. Why do people feel the need to comment on others' looks at all? What makes us so confident in our opinions about what other people wear. First, I think people project their own insecurities onto others. Let's be honest, most of the time, when someone criticizes what you are wearing, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Some people police others' style because they don't feel free to dress how they want. Others push their personal preferences as if they are universal truths. But sometimes projection isn't even about style. It's about body image, self worth, or deep seated insecurities. I had this experience at my birthday party last year. Some of my husband's friends came and I was meeting them for the first time. One of the guests, of course a woman, handed me a present, a cookbook filled with traditional Romanian recipes. Cute, right? But then, as she gave it to me, she said, I got this recipe book, but now I look at you two, meaning me and my husband, and I see that maybe that was a bad present since you guys look a bit round. So maybe you don't need more food. For a second, I just lost my words. And then I couldn't hold it. I just laughed so hard. It was surreal. The complete lack of self awareness this woman had. And later in the evening, I noticed something. She didn't touch any food. And then it clicked. Her comment had nothing to do with me. It was her own fear of food, her own struggles with body image, her own discomfort with eating. But instead of processing that internally, she projected it onto me. And this is what happens all the time. Someone who's uncomfortable with their body will tell others what they should or shouldn't wear. Someone afraid of being too much will criticize people who wear bold, expressive outfits. It's not about you. It's always about them. And sometimes people don't even need to hear an opinion to assume they are being judged. I had this experience once at a party I was hosting. Yes, I love hosting parties at my house. So we were chatting, and one woman was wearing a really cute set, something I genuinely liked. So when someone in the group asked where she got it from, I joined in and said, yes, it's so cute. You look so great. She smiled, but then almost immediately she just left the group. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But later that evening, another woman from our conversation came to me and said, she told us her set was from Zara, but she didn't want to say it in front of you. I was so surprised by this. It had never even crossed my mind to judge her choice of brand. I'm not the fashion police, but somewhere along the way, she had internalized the idea that people like me, people who talk about sustainable fashion, would judge her. And this is what happens when we assume what others are thinking. So it goes both ways. Some people criticize others because they feel insecure about their own choices, and some people assume judgment where none exists. In both cases, we ended up placing too much weight on what others think, real or imagined. That's why the next time someone says something about your outfit, or even when you think they are judging you, ask yourself, do I actually care about this person's opinion, or am I making this bigger in my own head? Because your style should be about you, not about anyone else's expectations. Some negative comments don't sound like criticism at first, but you feel it. And this is exactly what Alice, one of our listeners, struggles with. Let's hear her message.
Hi, this is Alice. As an answer to your question, I have never countered criticism or negative opinions in direct form, but I really have trouble with people who dress their opinions in a nice suit, saying, I mean, their criticism in a nice suit, saying, like, oh, I really like how creatively you dress, or is that a vintage piece? Like it would be a bad thing. And I really don't know how to respond to that. I usually just smile and nod and, move on. But it does bother me. So maybe you have some ideas.
Alice, I hear you. This is so common. People who don't feel comfortable directly criticizing others often dress their opinions in polite packaging. They cloak their disapproval in vague, seemingly nice words so that if you react, you look like the sensitive one. So, how do you respond? Call it out casually. If someone says, "Oh, you always dress so creative," you can smile and say, "I know, isn't it great?" Because this flips the narrative. You own the comment rather than letting it feel backhanded. You can also turn it back on them. So if they say, "Is that vintage?" in a condescending tone, just ask, "Why do you ask?" Let them explain what they really mean. And finally, the third option is to just ignore and move on. Because sometimes the best response is no response. Smile, nod, and leave them to sit with their own thoughts. Not every comment deserves your energy. Some people make remarks out of habit, others do it out of insecurity. And sometimes people genuinely don't realize how their words come across. But you don't have to hold on to those comments. You don't have to explain yourself. And most importantly, you don't have to change anything about yourself just because someone else sees the world differently. If you've been enjoying Style Shifter, please share it with a friend. Maybe someone in your life is feeling stuck in their style, overthinking their wardrobe, or just needs a fresh perspective on fashion. Sometimes a good conversation is all it takes to shift the way we see things. Alright, let's get back to our story. So far, we've talked about external negativity, right? So, when others comment on our looks intentionally or not. But what about when the loudest negative voice isn't coming from other people? It's coming from us. I think this is something a lot of people struggle with, including some of you who shared your thoughts in the app forum. Katharina brought up an interesting perspective. The more she learns about style, the more she notices when others don't put effort into their outfits, and that judgment makes her uncomfortable. She doesn't want to be someone who looks down on others for how they dress. And I found this so interesting because it's a side of style we don't talk about enough. When you start learning about personal style, when you understand color harmony, fit, textures, styling, it changes how you see the world. You start to notice what works and what doesn't, and for some people, that awareness can lead to silent judgment. I get it. As a stylist, I've spent years training my eye to notice details most people wouldn't even think about. And sometimes that means I see things I would rather not see, like outfits that feel off, chaotic layering, colors clashing in a way that makes my brain itch. But here's the thing, not everyone cares about style the way we do, and they don't have to. Style is personal. Just because something doesn't look harmonious to us doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it doesn't match our personal framework of beauty. I had to teach myself this early on. When I started in fashion, I used to think in absolutes. Certain styles were good, others were bad. But over time, I realized people dress for different reasons. Some dress for comfort, some dress for practicality, some don't think about fashion at all. And that's okay. So if you've ever catch yourself feeling judgmental towards others' outfits, ask yourself, am I seeing this from my personal lens of style, or am I expecting others to follow my rules? Why does this actually bother me? What can I learn from how they dress rather than just focusing on what I don't like? Because the more you appreciate diversity in style, the more you relax into your own choices. While Katharina struggles with how she sees others, Millie shared a different challenge, one that so many people can relate to. Let me read you her message. For me, it's more about the inner criticism, mainly my fear of standing out and becoming the center of attention, even if it's in a good way. Sometimes I dress down to be less noticeable instead of proudly showing who I am through my clothes. What can I do to feel more confident with my style and being seen? This is huge because for a lot of people, it's not external criticism that holds them back, it's the fear of standing out. That moment when you put on an outfit that makes you feel amazing, and then suddenly you wonder, is this too much? Will people stare at me? What if someone makes a comment? And so instead of walking out feeling powerful, you do something so many people do. You tone it down. You swap the statement piece for something safer. You remove an accessory. You choose the outfit that makes you blend in, not stand out. I see this all the time. It's like there is this invisible threshold where it's okay to look nice, but not too nice. It's okay to wear color, but not too much color. It's okay to experiment, but not in a way that makes people notice. So here's my question. What is so scary about being seen? For some, it's fear of judgment. For others, it's fear of expectations. Like if you dress well one day, people will expect you to keep it up every day. And for many, it's fear of stepping outside their own identity, of not recognizing themselves in the reflection. But the thing is, dressing down will not make you invisible. People will still see you. So why not be seen on your terms? If you resonate with Millie's struggle, here are a few things you can try. First, maybe try to just ease into visibility. If wearing bold colors make you nervous, start with small accents. Add a bright scarf, a unique pair of earrings, or a colorful bag before fully committing to a striking outfit. Maybe wear it at home first. Before debuting an outfit in public, try it in the comfort of your own home. Walk around in it, see yourself in mirrors, let your brain adjust. It's also useful to kind of have like a grounding response. So if you do get a comment, whether positive or negative, prepare a go-to response. Something simple like, thank you, I really love this piece. Acknowledging it without over-explaining helps you own your choice. And finally, fake it till you make it. Of course, confidence doesn't always come before the outfit. Sometimes the outfit comes first and then confidence follows. The important thing to remember is wearing what you love is never the problem. The problem is the voice in your head that tells you you are too much for simply existing in a way that feels good to you. And this is why internal negativity is so sneaky. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just that little hesitation before you step out the door. That tiny voice that tells you to play it safe. But the more you listen to that voice, the smaller your world gets. And the more you challenge it, the more open and free your style and your confidence becomes. We've talked about criticism, but now let's talk about something just as tricky, compliments. Because for a lot of people, receiving a compliment doesn't feel easy. Some people shrink when they are praised, some deflect it, turning the conversation away from themselves, and some, like me, just feel awkward when the compliment is about something they weren't looking for attention on. For example, when I post a new video, I've usually spent 4 or 5 days on it, perfecting the script, creating visuals, making sure everything flows and everything works. And then someone comments, I love your hair. And I get it. I get it. My hair might look cute that day. It's well meant. But after putting so much effort into a piece of content, the only thing being noticed is something I didn't even work on. So, not all compliments feel good. It's not just about what's being said, it's about what's being valued. And this happens all the time. A designer spends months creating a collection and someone says, "Oh, I love the fabric." A singer pours their soul into an original song and someone says, "Oh, your makeup look amazing." Or a person experiments with bold, expressive style and someone says, "Wow, you look so thin in that dress." It's not always the compliment itself, it's what's being overlooked. I actually wrote about this in a newsletter once because how we compliment others says a lot about our own mindset. A lot of compliments, without us realizing, reinforce beauty standards rather than celebrating personal style. For example, when someone says, "This dress make you look so thin," it might sound positive, but what it really does is imply that thinness is the goal and that this person succeeded in achieving it. A real compliment focuses on the person, not the beauty standard. So instead of "that dress makes you look thin," you can just say "you look amazing" or "you have such great taste." Because the effort should be celebrated, not just the garment or the way it changes a person's shape. So when we give real compliments, we actually make space for more self-love and acceptance, both for the person receiving it and for ourselves. This actually reminds me of a conversation I had recently with someone considering joining Studio Plus. She told me, "I don't know if your method is for me because I want to look thin and tall, and I feel like your community is too nice. Like no one ever says anything negative, even if it's true." And I thought, What does true mean? Because I'm not against looking thin and tall. My method isn't about prioritizing looking fat and short either. it's just it's just not about that at all. It's about dressing from a place of confidence, not fear. If someone wants to wear a structured blazer because they love how powerful it makes them feel, amazing. But if they are only wearing it because it hides their wide hips, that's different. And as for the community being too nice, I don't think kindness and honesty are opposites. I don't think constructive feedback and respect are opposites. Of course, nasty comments are forbidden in the Wonder Wardrobe app. But giving constructive advice when someone asks for it, that's always welcome. Everyone in the community knows this is a learning process. Some members are further ahead than others, and when they share advice, it's not about pointing out flaws, it's about helping others feel more aligned with their own personal vision. So, yeah, if your compliment is reinforcing a fear, is it really a compliment? But even when compliments are well meaning, a lot of people still feel uncomfortable receiving them. Maybe it's because you don't know how to respond without feeling weird. You don't believe what's being said. Or maybe you've been taught to be humble and downplay praise. Whatever the reason, here's how to accept a compliment without shrinking away from it. First, keep it simple. You don't need to over-explain. Just say thank you. That means a lot. Secondly, resist the urge to deflect. So if someone says, "You look amazing," don't say, "Oh no, I just threw this on." Just own it. Another thing you can do is to mirror the energy. So if a friend compliments your style, you can return the positive energy. Not necessarily with another compliment, but with a warm response. "Oh, I really appreciate that." If the compliment feels off, reframe it. So if someone says, "That dress makes you look so thin," you can respond with, "I love how it makes me feel." If someone says, "You look so different today," try, "Oh yes, I'm trying something new and I love it." So the key is owning the compliment without feeling like you have to explain yourself. One last thing, if compliments make you uncomfortable, try giving more of them. Yes, because the way we talk to others is often a reflection of how we talk to ourselves. If you practice giving compliments that focus on the person, not the beauty standard, it starts to rewire the way you think about praise. So instead of, "You look so thin in that," say, "You have such great style." Instead of, "Your makeup makes your eyes look bigger," say, "You have such a great eye for color." And when you do this, something shifts. Because when you start genuinely complimenting others, you also start seeing your own beauty beyond the external. And suddenly, compliments don't feel uncomfortable anymore. They feel like an exchange of confidence. Before we wrap up, it's time for our Q&A segment. I love hearing your questions because they bring up real, everyday wardrobe dilemmas, things so many of us deal with but don't always talk about. Today's question comes from Corina, and I think a lot of you will relate to this one. So let's listen.
Hey Daria, my name is Karina, and I've been following you for many years, and I love all of your content. And I've recently listened to your podcast about seasonal budgeting, and I thought it was amazing. And I, as always, went through my capsule, and I found myself thinking about winter coats and versatility. So I used around 2 winter coats this season, but I have plenty more, and some of them are a color that I don't really like at the moment, or that it just doesn't really fit with the capsule that I wear at the moment. But I also get bored quite easily, so I'm in the situation where I'm not sure if I should keep all my winter coats for in case I want to change my colors, or I change my style for the next season, or is it just once we don't wear something for one season, we should get rid of it because there's really no use for it? Or should we think more like we keep it for the next season and maybe we like it again? And maybe there should be like a multi-year rotation of things to avoid boredom. So yeah, I'm curious to see what you think about that. And thank you for everything as always. Ciao.
Thank you, Corina. This is such a great question because it highlights something I see a lot: the hesitation around letting go of clothes that aren't in rotation but might be useful again. The truth is, not wearing something for just one season is not a good enough reason to get rid of it. You might feel differently next year. Maybe the weather was unusual this winter, maybe your lifestyle was different, or maybe you just didn't feel drawn to those coats this season. That doesn't mean they will not have a place in your wardrobe later on. So instead of focusing on how much you wore them this year, I would suggest looking at long-term practicality. First, check the basics. So, do the coats still fit you well? Are they in your personal color palette? If the fit is off or the color doesn't suit you at all anymore, chances are you will not reach for them in the future. And in that case, it makes sense to let them go. Think about function. Are they practical for your climate and lifestyle? If a coat isn't warm enough, isn't waterproof, or doesn't serve your needs, it's probably not worth keeping. But if it's still a high quality, functional piece, it might just be waiting for the right moment to shine again. Also, maybe consider it an emergency option. Even if you didn't wear it this season, coats go through wear and tear. If your go-to coat needs dry cleaning, repairs, or unexpectedly stops working for you, having a backup is practical and sustainable. Instead of buying a new one, when that happens, you already have an extra option. And if you're still unsure, put it into storage and reassess next year. And when you do decide to let go of something, the best option is always to sell or gift. That way, someone else gets to enjoy it and it stays in circulation instead of going to waste. This kind of intentional decision making is exactly what we talked about in the second episode of this season. That's called What Most Women Ignore When Shopping for Clothes. Instead of making wardrobe choices based on trends or temporary feelings, we focus on longevity, function, and alignment with your actual life. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I highly recommend checking it out. And if you have a style question of your own, I would love to hear it. Just head to wonder-wardrobe.com/ask and record your question. Your voice might be featured in a future episode. Today's conversation was a reminder that personal style isn't just about what we wear. It's about feeling secure in your choices, whether people comment on them or not. It's about accepting compliments without shrinking yourself. And it's about dressing from a place of confidence, not fear. Not fear of judgment, not fear of standing out, and definitely not fear of breaking the so-called rules. Because the truth is, people will always have opinions. But those opinions don't have to shape how you see yourself. The more you let go of that weight, the freer your style becomes. And if this episode sparked something for you, I would love to hear about it. Inside the Wonder Wardrobe app, you will find a space for real conversations about styles, struggles, wardrobe confidence, and learning to dress in a way that actually feels good to you. It's free to explore, and I would love to see you there. As always, I'm Daria, here to help you step away from the noise and into a style that truly fits you. See you on our next styling adventure.